All right, so I'm going to show you a trick with your hand about how to remember the parts, the ordered pairs on the unit circle. And my hand's going to be the first quadrant. So my thumb is 0. This would be 30, 45, 60, and 90. And I'm going to number my thumb as 0 because it's not a finger. 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. And if you can remember 0, 30, 45, 60, 90, and the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to show you how that translates into the ordered pairs in the first quadrant here in a second. I'm going to go and show you what you should have gotten in the first quadrant first. So let me move this out of the way here. There we go. So here's a picture of my hand. That's a beautiful picture. I know, I'm a great artist. But we're going to come over here to the unit circle. So using our 30, 60, 90s from yesterday, I went ahead and filled out all of these ordered pairs. If you notice, the 30s and the 60s are the same, but they're just flip-flopped. And we'll talk about where this all comes from here in a second. So I'm going to show you how you can use your fingers to get these ordered pairs correctly right now. So here's what you do. I told you we're going to get the y values first, okay? The y values of the ordered pairs first. So like I just told you a second ago, we want to think about the thumb as 0. So you're going to go from the bottom up. So you take the square root of your finger number divided by 2 for each one of these. So this is my first finger, so it's square root of 1 over 2. And this is square root of 2 over 2. This is square root of 3 over 2. And this would be square root of 4 over 2. So again, numbering my fingers 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the numbers that go in the square root above a 2. Well, hopefully, we realize that we can simplify the square root of 0 is 0, and 0 divided by anything is 0. The square root of 1 is 1, and so this is a half. This does not simplify, so it stays the same. This does not simplify, so it stays the same. And I hope we know the square root of 4 is 2. And if you take 2 divided by 2, you get a 1. So if you look at these numbers right there, the blue ones and then these 2 red ones, and I go over here, those match exactly up with the y values as we are going around this unit circle. Those are the exact numbers. So you use your hand to get those y values. And then what you do is you do it the opposite for coming back down in the x's. So in other words, this x is 0. Okay, we're going to do the opposite. This is square root of, this one is square root of 1 over 2. This one is square root of 2 over 2. This one is the square root of 3 over 2, which these don't reduce. And then this one was the square root of 4 over 2, which ends up being 1. And I guess I should have put up here square root of 0 over 2. And this was square root of 1 over 2, which is just 1. So if you look, you can go up 0 going up to 4, and then 0 coming down to 4 to get the ordered pair that goes with those. So those are the numbers that go in those ordered pairs. So those numbers right there correspond exactly with these ordered pairs going this way. And then if you know this first quadrant, you should be able to get the rest of the circle. And here's why. In the first quadrant, you're supposed to know that x and y are both positive. Everything's positive in ordered pairs here. When you come over here, your x becomes negative. So if I take this 60-degree angle, oh, by the way, something else I didn't tell you was I went ahead and put all of the special angles going around here. You were supposed to do this, and then I also changed them into radians. So you can use the formula that r is to pi as d is to 180 to find the radians. Now I have this thing memorized. That's what that's your goal, is to get that thing memorized. Okay? So then what happens is, since both of these are positive in this quadrant, over here, the x's become negative. So if I take this point and reflect it over to the 60-degree here, this half becomes negative because the x is negative in the second quadrant. The y stays exactly the same. You take this 45-degree measure and you bring it over here with this 45-degree measure. Again, the x is negative and the y stays the same. Same thing for the 30-degree angle. You take the 30-degree angle and you reflect it over here. The x is negative and the y is positive. So if you get this first quadrant, you should be able to get the second quadrant by just changing them straight across the x values. Now, if I'm going to reflect these from the first quadrant to the third quadrant, well, what you're supposed to know in the third quadrant, everything is negative. So because this is the 30-degree angle and the one closest to x, this one is the 30-degree angle. This one reflects to this one. So this radical 3 over 2.5 both become negative radical 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. The 45 is the middle one both places. So this becomes negative radical 2 over 2 and negative radical 2 over 2. Then the 60 is the top one here and the bottom one down here is the 60. So this becomes negative 1/2 and negative radical 3 over 2 because I'm changing all these signs to their opposites down here. And then the last quadrant, the x is the same, but the y is negative. So I'm going to take this 60 and bring it down here to this one. And it looks like I forgot to put this measure in here. This measure right here should be 300 degrees, which is, let's see, that's over 6. So this, now it's over 3. So this should be, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is 5 pi over 3. Okay. And so this one that was 1/2 radical 3 over 2, the half stays positive because positive and positive, but the y goes from positive to negative. So this is negative radical 3 over 2. And then this is the 45 and this is the 45. X stays the same in this quadrant, but y is negative. And then last but not least, this 30 comes down here, the x stays the same, and the y switches sign. Now, I hope you got the quadrantals because this is over 1, 0, up 1 means 0, 1, to the left 1 is negative 1, 0, and down 1 would be 0, negative 1. So I hope that helps you see what you should have had for all those quadrants. Then you were supposed to take those and they just come over here and go in the same place, but you were supposed to take these letters. You're supposed to take these letters and put them in where they go. So I put 1, 0 here, which is this E. So if you look, I stuck the E right there. So you're supposed to do this whole thing. If you have not done that, you need to go back and finish that up. And then you need to take those and take pictures of those and upload them onto Canvas. Did you get the ordered pair with the thumb? Was 1, 0, I hope? Okay. All right. So we're going to go on and I'm going to show you now how you can use the specials that we did. And I'm going to show you how you can use the unit circle to do the same kind of problems. Now I'm going to do these, we did the 4 to 32 by 4s on Monday. Now this is the same worksheet. Oops, I got to erase all that. Let me get rid of that. I hope I took a picture of the right thing. Ah, bummer. Okay, I'm gonna fix this real quick because I want to show you. I'm going to do a problem for you all here in a little while. Oh, I didn't want to erase that part. Oh well. Okay. We're gonna do one of this problem 47 here in a little while, and I should have. Hey, I did erase that. Not get that. All right. So we're gonna do. I'm gonna do problem number 37 with you here, and the directions for this part down here was the same as these. You're supposed to give me the 6 trig functions, And then you're supposed to tell me alpha and theta, and draw a picture of them. But you're supposed to, now instead of giving the theta up here, you're being given one of the trig functions and then a possible value of another one. Like right down here, they give you two trig functions, okay? So what I want to do right now is I'm going to come over here and we're going to do number 37 together right here. And I rewrote what I wrote up here on Monday right here. Something you need to know, that sine is y over r, cosine x over r, tangent y over x. And then cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So you flip the r and the y upside down. Secant's reciprocal of cosine. So it's r over x, and cotangent's reciprocal of tangent. So over here on the left side, they're telling me that the sine is a half. Now I'm going to tell you this, and you may not believe this, but every year I get people that miss this answer right here. First thing you should do is write whatever they give you down here, because you have to tell me all 6 of these, alpha, theta, and the angle. You're going to have to do that on the quiz this Friday. Your quiz Friday is going to be mainly over 4.2, but there's going to be some stuff from 4.1 there. Next week, we're doing 4.3, and then we're going to have a test over 4.1 through 4.3. So you're going to have to put all this stuff together as we go through here. Most of you did really well on the 4.1 quiz. I hope we do well on this 4.2 quiz. But anyway, so I'm going to show you 2 ways on how to solve this thing. One is what we already did, and we're going to do it the first way using the specials. So in the specials, we're supposed to know over here that sine is y over r. So if I put a y over r here, that means y is 1, r is 2. Okay? We're supposed to know that cosine deals with x. So what this means is, since this is cosine's less than 0, means x is less than 0, which means we need x to be a negative value. Okay, so sine, which is y, that's a positive value. So the question is, where is x negative and y positive, which I hope we all know is in quadrant 2. So you're supposed to draw a triangle in quadrant 2. And then y is 1. So you're supposed to know y is going up and down. So we stick a 1 right here. R is the radius, which is the hypotenuse, goes here. Now, if you remember our specials, there's only one kind of triangle where if you double one of the legs, you get the hypotenuse, and that is the 30, 60, 90. And you're supposed to know that 1 is opposite to 30. So this angle right here, oops, I got the wrong thing going on there. How's that doing that? Oh, my button's stuck. Okay, so this angle right here is 30 degrees. That is my alpha. Okay, and you're supposed to know the other side that goes with that is the radical 3. These are the 3 sides that go together for a 30, 60, 90. You're supposed to know this. Now we're in quadrant 2, right? So we're supposed to know that x is negative. So I have to make this a negative radical 3. Okay? So now I can do SOHCAHTOA and fill these out just like yesterday. Now the other thing I want you to realize is, if I know the unit circle, if you have the unit circle memorized and you know that sine is y, there are only 2 places where sine is y. One is right here at 30 degrees, where you have a half over there, and the other one is over here at 150 degrees, where you have a half there. Well, on this half, this is negative radical 3 over 2. On this half, this is positive radical 3 over 2. Well, this says cosine is negative, which means this is not, and remember cosine's the x, this is not the one I want because x has to be negative. So this is the one I want, which if you look right there, it's the same place. Okay, so you can get it from your unit circle. Now, we need to remember that theta is going to be this angle right here. So theta in the second quadrant is 180 minus alpha. So 180 minus 30 gives me 150. So I have to put 150 degrees right there. And this is from what we did 2 days ago, or maybe, yeah, 2 days ago. So now I can do cosine. So either I can take and put this answer in for cosine right off the unit circle and not change anything, or I can do adjacent over hypotenuse. Either way you go, this is negative radical 3 over 2. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so this is 1 over negative radical 3. And to rationalize that, you move the radical to the top. And bring the 3 out in the bottom. Then we got to flip all 3 of these upside down over here. So if I flip 1 over 2 upside down, that's 2 over 1, which is 2. I flip this upside down, so that's negative 2 over radical 3, and I have to rationalize that. So I got to take the radical 3 up with the 2 and bring it out in the bottom. I flip this one upside down and put the 1 on the bottom, which anything over 1's itself, and I'm done. Okay, so there's how to do that problem, both with the special and how to find it with the unit circle. Okay. Go back to the unit circle radius sheet. Talking about this. Is that what you're talking about to go back to? I'm not sure what sheet you're talking about. Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right. So there's 37. Okay, so what I want you guys to do right now is I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. This right here is number 36. This is your first homework problem today. I want to have you guys take about, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes and see how far you can get and see what you can get out of this one. Doing it just like I just showed you for 37. And I'm going to pause the recording. All right, so I gave you 2 minutes to give you a shot. The first thing you were supposed to do, can anybody tell me what the first thing was I wanted you to do on this? You can either unmute yourself or chat it to me. That's right, they gave me cosine. So the very first thing you should do is write that in there. I have people miss this on the test. Whatever they give you, please put the right answer down. So now I'm supposed to know this is x over r right here. So x is a positive. Now this says that y over x, that's tangent, we want this to be a positive. Well, since this x is a positive, that's a positive value for cosine, which is x. That means y over a positive is a positive. And so to take a number divided by a positive to get a positive means y has to be a positive. So where's x and y both positive? Well, the answer is first quadrant. So I need to draw my triangle in the first quadrant. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And again, if you got a 2 and a radical 3, that means the third one's got to be 1. Now, if you forget this, you can say that x squared plus y squared has to equal r squared because this is a right triangle. And then you can plug your radical 3 in here and square it. And then we were looking for y on this one. And you put y squared there and then your 2 squared here, and you get radical 3 squared is 3. So you get 3 plus y squared equals 4, and then you subtract the 3 over, and y squared equals 1. So y can be a positive negative square root of 1, which is 1. And then you got to figure out in your quadrant which one of these two do you want. Well, in quadrant 1, it's a positive. So you can find the other one by using Pythagorean theorem on these. Then we go through and do all of these just like always. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's a half. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so this is 1 over radical 3. And then I have to rationalize that, so I move the radical up and take it out in the bottom. Up here, I flip 1 over 2 upside down, so that's 2. I flip this one upside down, and then bring the radical up with the 2, and take it out in the bottom. And then down here, I flip this one upside down, that's radical 3. Hopefully, we realize that opposite to 1 is always the 30. Which is my alpha, and since I'm in quadrant 1, alpha and theta are equal, and that's the 60. So there's number 36. How many of you got that right? Nobody, huh? Oh, there we go. All right, good. Good. You need to keep practicing this stuff. All right, then you got a problem. You got a problem like this down here where it says tangent is undefined. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, these first three problems you got, there's only one triangle that works. The last three, this one and the two on the back side, there are two different triangles that work, and I'm going to show those to you right now. So I'm going to do 47 to show this to you. Okay, so it says tangent theta is 0. Well, we could write this as 0 over 1, which means my y is 0 and my x is 1. Well, that happens, let me get red. That happens right here, 1, 0. Okay, 1, 0, so that means the radius of a circle going around is 1. So r is 1. And then I do all of those problems with this deal up here that you're supposed to get memorized. So when I go to this problem down here, I get, this is sine is y over r, so 0 over 1 is 0. Cosine is x over r, so 1 over 1 is 1. And first thing I did was wrote this tangent 0 down because that's what they gave me. If you look over here, I did it there too. And then I go to the next, I'm going to take all these and flip them upside down. So I hope you remember that if 1 is 0, its reciprocal is undefined. So these two are undefined, and I accidentally didn't erase that. These two are undefined, and then this one, the reciprocal of 1 is 1. That one's done. Now there is another way to get 0, and that is if you have a 0 divided by -1. So if you have a 0 divided by -1, that's still the 0 here. So that would be where this ordered pair over here is -1, 0 with a radius of 1. So if I take this one and put all these in here, this is going to be different than that one. Oh, I forgot alpha. Alpha is on the x-axis, so that means alpha 0 and theta 0. Now coming over here, I'm going to have y over r, so this is 0 over 1 again, which is 0. So this is undefined again. And I'm going to do cosine as x, which is -1 over 1, so that changes this one. -1 over 1 is -1, which that reciprocal is identical. This is 0 because that was given, so this is still undefined. My alpha is still 0 because this is still on the x-axis, but now this is theta. So theta starts on the right side, goes to the left side. I hope we all know that's 180 degrees. So as you can see, 48 is also going to have two answers. Okay, so we'll see if you guys can get that one. That was 47 that I did. Okay, then we're going to come over here and I'm going to do problem number 51 with you. And just so you know, these two, just like 51, have two different answers that work. So I'm going to show you how to find these. So here's what you do. First of all, please put tangent as -1 because that's what they gave me for 51 right here. Please put it on both of them. So on yours, please make sure you put cotangent as 1 on both, and this one, tangent's radical 3 on both, please. All right, so now I want to find what this means. Well, tangent is y over x. So if I put this as y is -1 and x is 1, that's one that will work. Well, I'm going to use blue here because I use blue over here. So if x is 1, that means, let me use black. If x is 1, that means I go right 1. So I'm going to go right 1, and y is -1, so I'm going to put the 1 up there instead. -1 means go down 1. So there's where I am. Now we had, if you got two legs that are both 1s, that means it's a 45, and that's radical 2, and this is 45 degrees. So this is a 45, 45, 90. So my alpha is 45. And then the rule in the fourth quadrant is 360 minus alpha. So this is 315. And I forgot to point something out in my directions, which means I made a mistake because up here, they said theta is between 0 and 2 pi. So this is radians. And they said, write your answer in radians. So if you wrote this, I'd have to take a point off. I need to make this pi over 4. And this would be wrong. This has to be 7 pi over 4 because it said to put these in radians. So be careful of your directions. All right, then I'm going to use this triangle and find all the rest of the stuff. Well, reciprocal of -1, -1. So I could go ahead and fill both these in right now. Then sine. Sine is y, which is -1 over hypotenuse, radical 2. So this is -1 over radical 2, which is going to be, move the radical up with -1, negative radical 2 over 2. Cosine, adjacent, 1 over radical 2. So this is a positive radical 2 over 2. I flip this upside down, that's radical 2 over -1, which is negative radical 2. I flip this upside down, that's radical 2 over 1, which is radical 2. There's one of them all done. Now there is another option to get -1. That is, what if I left the top positive and the bottom negative for this -1 value right there? That's also -1. So we have another option that y could be positive and the x could be negative. So what that means is there's another triangle that works if I do x -1 and y is +1. That would still give me an opposite over adjacent that is -1. So there's one in the fourth quadrant and one in the second quadrant. So this is still a 45, 45, 90. So that's still radical 2. Now my theta is this one. So this is 45. Oops, I need radians. I fixed it on the last one, so I'm going to fix it on here because it said radians. So this is pi over 4. This is 135 degrees to there, which is 3 pi over 4. And again, you can get this by doing r is to pi as d is to 180, or you can memorize them like I have them. That's your goal, is to memorize them. So I'm going to go through and use this triangle to get all these. So sine is opposite. Opposite that 45 is 1 over radical 2. But you move that up to the top. Then I'm going to flip 1 over radical 2 upside down. That's radical 2. Cosine, adjacent, -1 over radical 2. So you move that radical 2 up with a negative. So that's negative radical 2 over 2. You flip this upside down. That's negative radical 2. And I am all done with that. So that's all the notes for this. Does anybody have any questions? This is hard. I don't know if you thought that looked easy or not, but this is really hard stuff, and you need to practice it. Now, did somebody ask to see something off the unit circle earlier? Did I get you covered on that? I guess I'm asking, does anybody have anything else you want me to go over? Anybody got any other questions on anything? I'm seeing nothing. Please make sure you start practicing this stuff right away because it is hard. And if I were you, I'd find a buddy to be able to communicate with, either texting or FaceTiming or whatever it is you want to do with them to work on this together and talk your way through it and help each other out. Remember, the best way to learn is to teach it. So you guys give a good shot on this, and please upload your homework onto Canvas. And be safe, have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.